there. Welcome to the Ebon Hawk podcast, your source for Star Wars news and all things Knights of the Old Republic. Spoiler alert for the Knights of the Old Republic series and the Star Wars films, TV shows, and all other media. This is where the fun begins. Hey Coden, it's been a while. Are you ready to discuss the KOTOR article from Screen Rant?
Yeah.
All right. What are your overall thoughts on this article?
Well, we've seen like multiple variations of rumors like this in the past. I think that I know that Jason Schreier is involved with some of these rumors, and just looking at just kind of like the last year's trends and the upcoming announcements for some titles, I'd hesitate on calling this a remake, is what this article is kind of cruising around. What Jason Schreier is kind of labeled the rumor of a KOTOR remake, but I'm not going to discount the idea of a revisit to the KOTOR games. So, I think it's about time that something has kind of started to surface, but I am still kind of waiting. I'm personally waiting for something official from EA and BioWare.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of looked at rumors before, like episode 14. There's been some rumors about a KOTOR 3 or a KOTOR remake. Basically, since like KOTOR 2 came out, there's been rumors of a KOTOR 3, and then the rumors of a KOTOR 3 that ended up being the Old Republic, SWOTOR. And since Disney bought Star Wars, there's always been rumors of a KOTOR remake. But yeah, just looking at this article, Star Wars KOTOR remake heavily teased by Insider after Aspire buyout by J. Brody Shuri. It kind of seems that this rumor is kind of snowballing and seems more likely. I mean, Shuri says that a remake or reinterpretation, a revisit to the Knights of the Old Republic era is being developed by Aspire Media. And as we've kind of discussed, like Aspire Media has kind of covered the KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 ports to like mobile, and they've been involved with that. It seems like with the Lucasfilm Games brand being established and the EA and BioWare no longer having kind of the exclusive partnership, that it seems like a lot more games are going to come out, and I'm expecting a lot of Star Wars games to be announced. And I've covered the Indiana Jones game from Bethesda, so I don't think that BioWare will be involved, but that's just me.
I disagree a little bit. I'm thinking that best case scenario for this KOTOR rumor is we're looking at a similar treatment to what Mass Effect is getting here at the launch in May. I'm pretty confident that we're looking at a remaster, and it's probably going to be in the form of being able to access both games on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So I'm expecting a 4K facelift, maybe also a texture revisit, and a frame rate boost naturally. I don't expect anything new. I don't expect much changes in like quality improvements of the game. I imagine the game's going to be the same, just optimized for a more modern experience on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So the reason why I think this is Star Wars Rogue Commander or whatever that game is called is getting a PlayStation exclusive remaster. I've already talked about Mass Effect, Final Fantasy, or so Square Enix is bringing Final Fantasy VII as a remaster alongside their remake in a couple of years. It's just kind of like what a lot of developers are doing to make a little bit of money with kind of the financial issues that we're still seeing here in 2021. I don't expect anything more than that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would prefer just the same game being remastered, like you said, like kind of a facelift, like 4K and all that. Like a lot of games are getting the Nintendo Switch or ports to PS4 or PS5 treatment. And I would actually be fine with Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 not not changing the story but bringing it onto a new platform and then like either getting a movie or something new to bring it to another audience because I'm just kind of a little bit too busy personally to play video games, but I mean, we'll see what happens. Like a lot of games are being kind of transferred to Sony and Nintendo consoles, like the ones we grew up with or from earlier. So that's cool. You know, I'm not adverse to anything. You know.
Yeah, I'd like, I'd probably call it now that this this product of the KOTOR remaster is what I'm pretty confident it's going to be. For our our viewers and fans of KOTOR that have been like eyeing down the game, but maybe just kind of see this as like the game is just a bit too old. I think this would be the appropriate time to jump in if you're not really looking at doing the mobile experience either, which is my preferred method to play these at this point. I think that similar to Mass Effect, for people that like own these games already and have like tenure playing through these, a lot of the improvements that like I'm expecting for KOTOR are already available through like the PC community, the community modding.
Yeah.
And I think that the only major difference that this is going to bring is the frame rate update. So bringing it to a more modern frame rate. But for those of us that have played this game a lot, I don't believe that it's going to be worth the amount of money that EA is going to charge for this, which I'm expecting to be $70 on the PlayStation 5.
Oh, I guess I'm not even gonna really purchase a PS5 at this point.
Yeah.
um,
I'm just saying that, like, for those of us that have played this game
mm-hmm.
a lot, or have access to this game, but maybe both mobile or other console means, that I don't believe that it's going to bring enough improvements to rebuy this thing. But for those that are looking at this for the first time, this would be a great time to jump in.
Yeah, I would be fine with like a discounted price, but $70 or $60 I think would be asking too much personally, and this is from someone who, like loves KOTOR, like does a KOTOR podcast. But
especially when you can get a 1080p version of this game on your iPad for $10.
Yeah. And I don't know, there was that KOTOR Aperion fan remaster that was canceled. I keep on trying to track them down to like talk with them. I can't quite really find them, but what they were doing was just kind of like using the Unreal Engine to kind of like update the graphics, but kind of using just the same story, the same characters, and everything was the same. It was just kind of the visuals were updated, and They had some really cool like the character designs for Bastila, T3M4, Darth Malik, the environments. Seeing Terrace was really cool, and Dantooine was beautiful, and I'm kind of sad it was canceled. And I don't know if we kind of just like, I don't know, kind of have to pay more for like maybe not as high a quality of an interpretation. That might be a bit of a bummer.
With rumors like these, like, I appreciate the more official announcement. Because even then, developers, well, publishers too can mix up the phrasing of remake versus remaster. And Jason Schreier, like, is known to kind of set an expectation too high with the things that he reports on.
Yeah.
And so, like, this doesn't tell me much other than we're going to see a, KOTOR 1, maybe KOTOR 2 is a package deal for the now current generation media.
Yeah. I mean, typically, sometimes I think entertainment journalists and perhaps like journalists in general, sometimes you want the catchy headline to be able to like kind of entice people to read what you wrote. And sometimes if it's like, yes, there's a remaster coming, like, and it'll be like a port, like nothing new, like you kind of want to make it a little bit more enticing for people to read. And perhaps that could have been what happened, but who knows. But I don't know, it'll be interesting. Like, I guess when this episode is released, it will be March, and we have the rest of the year, spring, summer, fall, winter, to learn more information and see if this rumor is going anywhere. But would you prefer a KOTOR 3 or a remake? And when I say remake, I say like it's kind of like from the ground up. Or would you prefer kind of just a remaster?
Honestly, I'd want just a new experience overall, because I think the style of game that KOTOR is makes a great memory, and the nostalgia helps like go back to it when I want to. Playing more modern titles like Dark Souls or like Jedi Fallen Order, where it's more of just an action combat. It's a more modern experience for gaming. I'd like to see something completely new. But if it takes place in the world of KOTOR, I mean that would be ideal.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too late for a KOTOR 3. I think after all this time, you'd have to reintroduce it to audiences and they'd be like, wait, what? There was KOTOR 1 and 2, but which could confuse people. But
I think what I'd be after, it would be like the movie's equivalent to like a reboot. So like if they were to like make a game, maybe they even called it Knights of the Old Republic, and it offered a lot of the same, like a lot of the same feeling that you got from KOTOR, the same style of game where it's an RPG and you're kind of having to balance decisions. But it's a modern game. It's a modern experience. It's you're not doing what you were doing before. You're playing a whole new game, but it has enough elements of KOTOR in this example to still call it a KOTOR game.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a remake. I guess it depends how it would go. I think a remaster would be cool. I kind of would like to keep the story basically the same because I think like KOTOR just has such a rich story with like excellent characters. But I mean, looking back to the pilot, we were discussing Leia Calogridis's, like, it was a BuzzFeed article, and Leia Calligridis, it was rumored that she was writing a script to like the first like movie in a KOTOR trilogy. I don't know. Like I've played the games. I love the games. I kind of feel like after all this time, I would rather kind of introduce KOTOR to a wider audience rather than just a video game audience and kind of share the story with as many people as possible. So I would just say like do a KOTOR trilogies, and I think it's a great story, and you could really not reinterpret but kind of revitalize what Star Wars is, like designing the sounds, costumes, and just kind of the overall feel of the Old Republic era, and just kind of give Star Wars a great story and some new life, you know, like a new trilogy. Like, I mean, I love movies, or I mean, it could be a show. I mean, I'd prefer movies, but I just feel like the game scene is kind of, I don't know, played out. I'd rather see something new. But would you prefer like a movie, Disney Plus show, or a game if like it was going to be the Old Republic era?
I think that's pretty tricky. I think Disney has the resources where I think my preference would be to provide a outlet for the different types of media. Like I think what KOTOR could use more of is more like literary support. So like a good novel. Whether probably covering some other aspects of KOTOR, because there are there is KOTOR novels out there, but I'd like to, especially if we're gonna look at more of a reboot instance where we're gonna tell a new story in the world of KOTOR, and maybe in the same style of KOTOR, but I think that some of the media that I've enjoyed recently, I could play the game. Maybe there's a film that kind of goes along with it, and like a book or a visual novel, something that also goes along with it. And they're not telling the same story. They're just kind of telling different aspects to tell a more broad story. But they leverage the advantages that the different forms offer to kind of build the world around what you've already kind of experienced, I think.
Yeah, I guess on the literary side, there has been the High Republic. They've released Charles Soule's The Light of the Jedi and Claudia Gray's Into the Dark, and they've been selling well, and the comics have been selling well. So I guess it is kind of like introducing a new story, new characters, a new era, a new look. So that's been pretty fun. And there have been KOTOR novels. I mean, the Revan novel, like, one day we're going to cover that, and I will do all the pros and cons, but there has been, by Drew Karpyshyn, is it the Darth Bane trilogy? Like, where it's like the rule of two is established, and he takes on the apprentice Darth Zana. I think that would be ripe for a Disney Plus show, or at least a reference in something. But yeah, I think the literary scene is heating up, and they're being more intentional with it. And what I've enjoyed about the High Republic is there's actually a lot of references to the Knights of the Old Republic era. So I kind of feel like they are building a bridge backwards in the timeline for more periods to be explored in the future.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get back to looking at the High Republic novels, because I know that I had kind of opted to wait because I wasn't very happy about the kind of the publisher premium that was kind of slapped on them. Once I get some time freed up, that's still kind of on that burner of I'll look into these once kind of the prices come down. But I think that's just a problem overall with today's market. But there's some kind of interesting things popping up in the Star Wars world. I mean, we got Ian McGregor being a bit more vocal about his preparation of being Obi-Wan, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, he
But
got buff, so
that and there's a funny FaceTime meme that someone shared on Instagram that was hilarious. Um, but I think other than that, I am actually looking forward to a Republic Commando. That's something that I'm definitely planning on visiting is once that's remastered. They're releasing that for the PlayStation 4, and I've never played this game, because it it just was a bit old for me to try out. But I'm actually pretty excited to take a look at this now that it's being kind of updated.
yeah, I think it's a good game that follows a clone commando squad, kind of
Huh?
inspired by Doom and
A little bit of
Halo.
Halo too.
Yeah. So it does look like a fun game, and it actually shares a KOTOR voice actor, Raphael Sivarge. I sometimes I don't really know how to pronounce his last name, so it's like I'm just gonna say Raphael Sivarge. So he voices a clone in Republic Commando, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and they have a Switch game coming out, but I mean, all they did was they showed a title and a bunch of like characters on pedestals. They had no info about it other than they said that they're making one.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see what that is, but I don't, it's probably just going to be a really simple Star Wars thing. But
yeah. I think the character, is it Gregor? The one with the kind of like all the writing on his mask, but I think he was referenced in the Clone Wars, but maybe I'm wrong. So
yeah, I
yeah,
don't know this Switch game. I mean, it for all we know, it could be like a Super Smash Bros, but it's Star Wars. That's
yeah.
the advertisement that they brought on it
But I
could
think
easily be something like that. But
a Super Smash Bros. Like with Star Wars characters, I think that would actually be very popular though. Like you could do
mhm.
all the prequel characters, original trilogy, expanded universe, maybe, and sequels, and like everyone could just be their favorite character. Like I don't know. I feel like
Kind of reminded me of like the Wii's version of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed,
oh
where
yeah,
you could do like the PvP,
you could even be like Mara
and then
Jade.
the first iteration. What was that?
You could even be Mara Jade, like with the purple
Yeah,
saber.
there was
So
also the first attempt that they did this with was in the Revenge of the Sith game. You could do some two-player PvP.
oh, that brings
So
back memories. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, if like two characters were the same character, like they would have like different outfits. It was cool.
Mhm.
That was actually a pretty good game. You know, like sometimes I don't really like where it's kind of like you just like kind of go along where like a predetermined path, but I think the emphasis on the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith game was more on the lightsaber combat and combos. So, and just kind
Yeah,
of the lightsaber duels.
yeah, it was just kind of like an early attempt to make like a more interesting, like combat oriented, like storytelling game. And I think, the Force Unleashed wouldn't have been near as fun as it was without Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, there were a lot of Star Wars games that I grew up with, and I kind of think we're gonna get back to that kind of era just with Lucasfilm games, and I feel like there's a lot of things in the works, and I think it'll be a good time to get more games out in the wild. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Before we close up, I just want to make a quick announcement. For those who've been following pretty close, you notice that I've been kind of off the scenes for a little bit. But we've kind of come to the conclusion that we're decided to part ways, Cassia and and kind of go different directions. And I don't plan on going anywhere too far. You can still follow me on Twitter and Instagram through just my regular handles, as well as follow me on Twitch. I do plan on changing when I'm live on Twitch. So for a lot of my like upcoming things, I'd like you to just keep an eye out on announcements there. I am constructing a new podcast with some other colleagues of mine. What we're doing is we wanted to make a outlet kind of encompassing kind of what we're interested in overall, whether whether it's our interest in like video games, what the types of games that we're interested in, the movies, books we're reading. I tend to spend a lot of time on like tech news. And so what I'd like to just announce real quick is um if you still want to follow along for Star Wars content and kind of get my opinion, I'm not going to be a stranger on sharing and following some things on Star Wars news. This things that I'm primarily still interested in, whether it's the Mandalorian, Star Wars games. I know we got like Star Wars Battlefront 3 upcoming, which is in kind of rumor mode like KOTOR. But what the main goal that I'm discussing with a new team is that we just kind of all felt like 2020 was just like a kind of a bummer focus, and we wanted to just provide a new outlet where we want to discuss the kind of the things that keep us busy and keep us entertained, and we want to take you all along for the ride. So again, if just keep an eye on Twitter and Instagram. These are primarily where my announcements are going to be for what the show is going to be called and when we're going to be airing it. We do plan on airing live and recorded, so those that like to interact with each other and with us in a live format, we're going to have that available. And then a recorded format for those that can't make it live, we'll have that available for just regular podcast listening. So I do want to take a time to thank everybody who's helped Cassie and I kind of like get started with what we love to do, and keep on with this show as Cassia moves on with her direction. But I do look forward to still seeing some of you guys through kind of the new outlet that I'm constructing here in the future.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your help and for your friendship over the years. And it's been fun. We did the Ebon Hawk podcast together for more than a year, and it was really fun. And it was really cool to hear your takes on Star Wars and Knights of the Old Republic, and I can't wait to see what you create with your team and more Star Wars, more podcasts and people who cover things. It's great, and it's great for the community, and it just keeps everything vibrant and positive. And I can't wait to see what you create. And you've really helped me learn a lot about podcasting, Star Wars technology, and all that. And I'll definitely promote your page when you launch it. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everything, Coden.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up, just want to cover just my handles for one last time. So that's just going to be the twitch.tv/Coden to catch me live. And then on Twitter, if you follow Coden, you'll find me there, as well as Instagram through searching for Coden. You'll find me that way as well. We do plan on using just different names, so be aware of that. You'll know me as Daniel, but that's just something to adjust to. But But yeah, I'll look forward to talking to you all then. Again, we're looking at all types of things. So if you're interested in tech, great. Star Wars, great. Marvel, great. We got a couple gamer nerds coming in, so they're gonna be talking all things video games, and I like to read, and I'm also writing, so you'll definitely be hearing a little bit about that too. So again, thanks to everybody, and I'll turn the rest of it over to Cassia.
You can find the Ebon Hawk Podcast on Instagram at Ebon Hawk Podcast. The Ebon Hawk Podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as everywhere else that Anchor Podcasts are distributed. Subscriptions, reviews, and shares help us out immensely. Our intro and outro themes were composed by Alistair Sherman at alistair.wixsite.com/Alistair Sounds. Our transition music was composed by Christian Walker at christianwalkermusic.com. This has been the Ebon Hawk Podcast. May the Force be with you. We will be back soon. Bye for now.